I ain't telling no lies, I just run it up. Never let a hard time humble us. Double up. I ain't telling no lies, I just, yeah. I ain't telling no lies, I just
5, 4, 3, 2, that's time. I got to you that money.
Hey.
How you doing, Mbali?
I'm all right. How are you doing? I see we don't have your name up. Let me just do this. Cool. Awesome. That works. Hi,
I'm
Tumelo.
super. How you doing, Mbali?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Thanks. A warm welcome to everybody who's tuned in right now. Welcome to our Friday live chats. You know, they're focused around, ownership, trying to encourage the culture of people getting into businesses, not only for the sake of just buying, but also being able to buy the businesses that they buy from, being able to own those businesses and see how we can move forward. We've recently launched a financing vehicle called That Money Franchise Stokvel, which is a Stokvel model for buying into franchises. We're currently on our way to we thought we were going to build, Now we're still looking for a site. If it's possible, we should be having a site soon. We're still looking for a site, to place our first franchise. We've chosen Jimmy's. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the brand. I mean, it's all over Joburg. If you've seen Jimmy's Killer Express, Jimmy's Killer Franchise, all of those brands fall under Jimmy's, and we're trying to, gun for one of the stores. And it's all been made possible by our contributions as a collective. We started collecting money from the 26th of June. It's been such an awesome journey because 11 weeks later, we've collected close to 1.5 million. So it's 1.5 plus. And there's two separate groups. Yes, there's two separate groups. Each group is gunning for, each group has a target of raising 1.5 million, And group one is currently standing on just a bit over $1 million. And then group two is standing on 537,000. So, I mean, group two is slowly catching up into a nice pace. And I just want to say, we're still actively looking for a site. The members of the Stokvel are still looking for a site. So if you have suggestions on where we could be getting our next site, where we'd be building our next franchise, please hit us up because we have 1,000 rands up for grabs for anyone who gives us a site with the recommendations. And the recommendations, the specifications are up on our website. You can check that.africa. And also you can check the Facebook group, That Money Franchise Stokvel. One of the posts there, one of the pinned posts on top, they will show you what kind of site it is that we're looking for, how many square meters, the giza and everything like that, how everything should work. So if you have suggestions, please feel free to connect. Yeah. Anyways, so today, guys, we've been discussing, we've been sharing some tools with you, tools that you can use to make money from home. And today I have your go-to-market strategist, Tumelo Mpirima, who's worked in that industry, helped businesses navigate their way in terms of like pricing. So today we are really focusing on, how to position your brand, how much am I charging for this? Should I be charging this much for it? And things like that. Let me just introduce Tumelo quickly. I'll just go through your profile and then you add on. Tumelo, is that fine?
That's fine, perfectly fine.
Okay, cool. So Tumelo is the Managing Director of Cashistry Institute, a business development analytics and insights practice, which focuses on giving clients the best probabilistic chance of success in a noisy marketplace, serving clients from emerging industries like fintech to long-standing ones like healthcare. He is adept at crafting contextual relevant strategy and building fit-for-purpose ventures. Tumelo is a self-proclaimed business exploraholic. You're trying to make me bite my tongue. Maybe you can just help us a bit here, Tumelo, just break it down. What it is exactly that you do for brands, because you just gave us big English, yeah.
Sure, Mbali. You did a fantastic job. I should take you everywhere. as soon as I speak, I'm like, no, I need Mbali to introduce me. So yeah, you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Yeah, welcome everybody, and I hope that this can first and foremost be a very fruitful,
Yeah.
informative event, and we're helping someone understand that there's no such.
Okay, guys, it seems as if Utumelo is breaking a bit. I'm just going to try to get him here on the side and see if we can't have him back because he seems to be frozen on my screen. Just a minute. Okay, hi. I lost you there.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, cool.
Thank you very much. Yes. So as I was saying, so basically, I hope this is like informative and it helps everyone sort of understand that there's no such thing as overpricing, right?
Okay.
And we'll have a conversation about that a little bit more. So just a little bit of context, right? So
Yeah.
where all of this comes from in terms of pricing and helping companies establish where they should be pricing their brands is it's all an experiment. The entire time is you should charge as much as people are willing to pay for it, right? Meaning that if someone is saying that I am charging 500 Rand for a logo, for example, and you're charging 50,000 Rand.
Which I am, by the way.
And someone's charging 50,000 Rand for a logo. It's all about the perception in and around what someone is willing to pay for, right? And I know people that charge 50,000 Rand for a logo. It's a thing.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Are you telling me that people have money? It's just a matter of you asking for it, you know?
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, what goes into, you getting to say, all right, I'm selling T-shirts and I'm selling this T-shirt for let me say 120 bucks, Yeah. And maybe I'll be delivering, to places nearby. So I'm also going to charge you like 50 bucks extra. So at the end of the day, you're paying something like 180 for a T-shirt, but you're getting it on your doorstep. So, are those huge factors on how you getting the product at the end of the day?
Okay. So I think a baseline is you do have to understand what are your input costs, right? So it's very important for you to understand how much does it cost you to make the thing. But when you're considering how to, in essence, get it to delivery or get it to customers, I read something once upon a time, and it was like, right? So it's like delivering gives you access to the actual money, right? So delivery gets you access to being able to invoice, but packaging allows for you to charge a premium, right? And it's about the experience of how you're getting the T-shirt there. So when you're considering all the other different things, you're not taking into consideration your intellectual property, the actual design that you went and spent time thinking about putting on the T-shirt, right? To affect culture, whatever the case may be. Are you considering how much time it took you to spend on airtime talking to manufacturers, right? Are you considering how much time it took you to actually put together the arrangement and source the material? So people most of the time when they're charging for it, they're charging for what we can see immediately, which is the T-shirt cost me this much to make and this is much delivery and I'm just putting up a little markup on it. However, there's so many other different things that come into the fold in terms of what is the result, how is this going to make someone feel, right? And you need to try and quantify how much that's going to make someone feel. And hopefully the brand is good enough to get to a point where you can charge whatever you want for it.
What do you mean the brand is not good enough? What makes it good enough?
Well, however the customer sees it. So that's kind of what the point is, right?
All right.
So, for example, what makes the difference between a Louis Vuitton and one that you get to Pep? It's the perception.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
And what makes the difference between a Louis Vuitton T-shirt and getting something from Pep? right? And it's basically the perception that you get from the actual product itself. But I think what I'd like for us to talk about today is more specifically in and around the freelancing perspective, and when you're doing kind of business services and how you should be thinking about that entire structure.
Yeah. No, I mean, speaking of that, you know, like I said, we've been sharing some nice tools on how to make money online. And the thing is that with freelance services, especially now during COVID, you know, they boomed, especially transcribing.
Yeah.
But, and I'm one person who's always had a problem with this. You know, I never know how to charge my clients. I charge according to what I think, you know, they will afford. And I'm not considering, you know, the amount of data that I use to put together the research and things like that. And, you know, if you're charging too little, that means you are unsure about the work that, or the value that you bring into your clients. And if you're charging too much, you're thinking, oh my gosh, will they be able to buy it? I mean, are those important questions to ask as well? And I mean, for someone who's just venturing into the freelance space, what would be your first advice to them? What do you tell them in terms of like positioning themselves as a service provider?
Sure. So the first thing is you need to decide, right?
Yeah.
Is do you want to be a pair of hands or do you want to be a brain, right? Do you want to be a commodity or do you want to have a competitive edge? And the baseline question is, do you want to be a business or do you want to be someone that's for hire? In terms of, I just need a quick job, do this for me, or do this for me. And I think when someone starts to think of themselves as a business, it's a very different sort of thought process. Right?
Yeah.
Because then you don't charge simply on the amount of time that you're putting into something. You're thinking holistically about the result and how you're affecting the client. So we'll get a little bit into that a little later. So consider that you use transcribing as an example. Let's think branding people. Let's think marketers. So videographers as well. So we'll use that as sort of the example around how we think about this, right? So if you are a videographer, if you are a marketer, if you're a branding person, at the end of the day, a client wants a specific result. And like you said, COVID had an effect on how businesses needed to do things. Either they needed to downsize, but they still needed the capacity, right? They needed to look for different ways to try and get results, specifically if businesses were migrating from kind of the offline structure into online. All of a sudden now they needed the expertise, right? So already that's a position where your negotiating position is much better than it was prior to COVID, right? Because all of a sudden your skill set allows for them to have their business still in existence. So in essence, what you then need to understand is what is the results that they're looking for. With the things that I just mentioned earlier on, branding, marketing, all these different sort of business services towards a company, there's one thing that a customer is coming to look for when they're coming to you. And that's market share. That's revenue, right? And you need to understand and press into that particular problem to be like, how am I affecting the bottom line? Or how am I affecting their top line, right? Which is sales, essentially. So if you know what you can guarantee from a results perspective, so let's use the videographer as an example. If video is important for the industry that they're in, right? And let's say long form content on social media, YouTube, that kind of thing is an important part of the top of the funnel, meaning awareness, right? For people to understand what it is you guys are doing, whatever the case may be. You need to understand what is the client looking for specifically. How many views are you looking for? How many of those views do you want to translate into leads, prospects, whatever word you name it, but basically people that are interested in buying your service or product, right? And also, how does that translate in monetary terms? So if I can get this result, what does that mean for your particular thing? Now, all of a sudden, you're not thinking about input costs, right? You're not thinking, okay, I need to sit down and I need to cut this video for 5 hours. So that's, you know what I mean? You're thinking about what's the result at the end of it. And if the result, let's say, is worth 100,000 rands, right? And you charge the client 5,000 rand, who lost? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you're understanding how much that particular endeavor is worth. And I think what tends to happen is you're so keen to take on the job that you don't understand the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're saying, hey, I need video for this. You're like, yeah, no, I can do that. I can do that. It's going to cost you about this much. And then the return on investment is probably, let's say, 20x what you would charge them, and all of a sudden you are not getting a portion of that particular result, right? And it's just like, okay, your videos were good, that was fantastic, you got your money, but you're not forming sort of a long-standing relationship with that customer to make sure that they are paying enough, right? That they're paying enough for your services coming into the fold. Yeah, so that's some of the considerations you need to take. We'll go a little more into the maths just now.
All right. And I mean, I just want to go back to what you said. And this is a huge problem for marketers, and I say this because I'm in the space myself. I play in that space. You know, when I meet clients and they're like, no, we want this much value from the work that you'll be putting into the company, and my question is always like, okay, fine. I can only take you up to here, but I mean, how can you put it on me whether they sales or not? I'll do my job. I'll provide the marketing material, but I'm not sure. Maybe we can look into it. I'm really not sure if that pressure should sit on marketers on, okay, hey, if your advert gets me 20 clicks, right, and 5 of those people I'm making sales, then you'll be making money. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And what you're basically saying is, how do I understand where I fall part of their sales cycle? Where do I fall part of how they make their money, right? And it's also very important for you to understand where you fall a part of that. So we'll move to the videographer example, and then I'll come back to you as a marketer, right? So as a videographer, you don't have a direct impact on sales. And you need to make that clear from the very beginning. I'm at the top of the funnel. I'm about awareness, right? So I can get you this much awareness so that your conversion funnel as you are coming down is improved, right? And as a marketer, you're probably somewhere in the middle of the funnel, right? Which is sort of the decision making and evaluating. So when I'm looking at different products and I'm looking at different solutions or different services, I'm comparing, right? And that's where, as a marketer, you come into the fold to be a little bit more convincing. And towards the bottom end of the funnel, right, which is where, as Casuistry, that's kind of where we play in and around that particular sphere, right? At the bottom end of the funnel, that's kind of the more business development sales side of things, right? Now the clients are in, now you've convinced the clients that they need to pursue, make a phone call to say, hello, X company, we'd like to acquire your services, right? And that is as a result of Mbali's work. But you need to be able to show that, right? So when you're coming into a meeting with clients, you have to say, okay, what are your metrics and what's important? So for example, someone comes in and says, I'm trying to sell a little bit more, right? That is a very vague, everyone's trying to sell a little bit more,
Everybody's
right?
trying to
So
sell.
everyone's trying to sell a little bit more. And you have to figure out what the exact goal is. So let's say they say we want to sell 10 units a week, right? So, okay, 10 units a week. You find out how is it currently working. So we're currently doing this thing and this thing. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, right? And you ask them, why do you have so many different platforms, right? Because you're a digital marketer, correct? You ask them, why do you have so many different platforms? No, we think that this platform is good because of this and this and this. And you find out what their reasoning is. And sometimes their reasoning isn't altogether that great. They're just there because someone told them that digital marketing is important,
Social
right?
media presence.
100%. And then it's like, social media presence is my social media presence, right? So then you find out exactly why it is that they are on the various platforms and whether or not it is effective, right? And then you say, maybe we need to scale down and not have as many things, because sometimes what happens is we have a very additive mindset where sometimes you need to subtract things to make things more efficient, right? And it's like, okay, maybe you need to remove your Facebook presence because it doesn't serve and align with what your business goals and objectives are, right? You don't need to have a presence on Instagram because you don't have the sort of cadence that is in line with that particular platform, right? So maybe we just use LinkedIn because with LinkedIn, you can have guaranteed impressions, so forth and so on, right? And once you dig into where the problem is, you can sort of find out that actually how they're trying to solve it is wrong. And that's what is important about being a brain instead of a pair of hands, right? Yeah. So that's like being a brain is instead of a pair of hands, because now you are thinking to say, actually, you guys are not solving the problem the right way. And there's more value in that than you just putting up actual content, right? A lot more value in that. Because when you're saying, no, actually we need to have only one social media site. It improves the conversion funnel, and therefore you'll have more leads coming in, and that means you have a higher chance of converting sales. So I say that if you could guarantee the 100,000 that I was talking about in the beginning, right? And you could charge them once off for the 100,000, and
Okay, Dumano's frozen again. Let me try to get him back. Let me try to get him back. Because we're having such a dope conversation here. I need him back.
very, very, very sorry. Are we back?
Oh, welcome back.
We're good. Sorry about that. Ish, everyone's back at the office, so yeah, nah.
Yeah, they're towing the Wi-Fi.
Hey, we missed level 3, guys. we missed level 5. Please, everyone go back home. Anyway, all right, Sid. Sorry about that. So in essence, what happens is if you could guarantee them the 100,000 rands, right? And that was a once-off sort of thing, and they could make a profit on that 100,000 rands time and time again after your efforts, then I would charge them the 100,000 rands. But you discount for uncertainty, right? Because you don't have complete control over all the elements. So you discount for uncertainty and say, okay, fine, I will charge you 20% of the 100,000 rands, right? And that looks like a really
20%.
good paycheck if you understand. If you could guarantee 100,000 rands, you should probably be charging 50% of the 100,000 rands if you could guarantee it, right? So that's sort of what I'm thinking about in terms of how you should be charging. But I'll get a little bit more into the maths of how that works out and how you get someone to be like, let me sign on the dotted line.
There's a shout out to you from Rhodes Internet Cafe, Crossroads Internet Cafe. I see people are like happy that you are dropping the buzz.
No,
You're an insightful marketer. And then now to my next question, right? I'm gonna go back to marketing because that's the space that I play in, right?
Sure.
9 times out of 10, brands want you to do all the slaving for them when they just sit there and do nothing. I just want to tell the smaller guys, the smaller brands who want marketing videos, who want logos, who want nice social media presence, that they're free. These tools are free, but you're going to have to pay for them. If you want actual results, and you cannot put it on me, on the price that you are paying me to put money behind the ad campaigns that I'm running on your page. So I would also advise anyone, if you're planning to run a social media campaign, it's not on me to pay for it. It's on you. And you must at least have, and I'm being very generous here when I say have at least $5,000 for each platform to spend, like in 2 weeks. $5,000 in 2 weeks. That means you're spending $10,000 on Facebook. You're spending $10,000 on Twitter, and you're spending $10,000 on Instagram. And if at the end of the day your numbers are not supporting the market, the amount of marketing that you want done, you will hardly get any results back. I will do the social media posts. They will look nice, but only your 10, 15 people will see them because you're not putting real money into that. And that's the thing with all these algorithms with different social media platforms, right? On LinkedIn, you can boost posts for a certain amount of money and they can reach a certain amount of people. You know, there's ways to play around it, but I'm just saying, if you don't have money to put behind your marketing, it doesn't help to get somebody who's going to stand there and make your brand look good at the end of the day.
So that's a really good point, Mbali. And I think marketers entertain a lot of different things. Actually, anyone that's in the professional services side of things, you entertain it for a long time. And I think my philosophy that's kind of moved in, you know, you start off and you kind of get your fingers burnt now and then, and you kind of pitter-patting around the price, pitter-patting around speaking about the money. I say have the money conversation as early on in the conversation as possible, right? And it's important for you to say, okay, fine, this is what my services look like. And you can give them a range, even though you don't know exactly what you are going to charge, right? But you have an understanding sort of where your range is. But if, let's say, your services a month start at 6,000 rands, probably going to the upper echelons of about 13,000 rand. Let's say just to have access to Mbali, it's between 6 and 13,000 rands.
Yes, per hour.
Then you had that conversation.
Ow.
But hey, if you can convince someone that, go for it.
True.
Go for it, right? So if let's say it's 6 to 13,000 rands per month, right? Just as a starting point. Then you say to someone, okay, you weed it into the conversation. You obviously don't say, Emon, I would love to put it that way. But sometimes it's very intimidating for clients. But what tends to happen is we stretch along
No,
in the
but these are
conversation.
important conversations, Tumel. I want to
Exactly,
know. Do you have
exactly.
money for
You have
that
to.
thing?
100%. But you have to, in essence, be able to package that in a message that allows for them to either say, there's a back door to leave, or I can stay here and listen a little bit more. I'll make an analogy. When you go to a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the menu and you're like, oh, this is really expensive.
Because
right?
you're Tasha's.
Do you politely get up and leave? Or do you tell the waiter, actually, this menu is really expensive. I won't be able to afford this. Thank you very much. I'm leaving.
I just get up and leave.
100%. So why do we think that customers are any different?
Oh,
Right?
okay,
So-
okay.
You know what I mean? What tends to happen is you have the money conversation, and then someone, in essence, is stringing you along because they're just like, Ish, I'm embarrassed to tell this person that I can't afford their services, right? But because you're not having the conversation in a constructive way, that's also given them an opportunity to kind of leave. That comes back to
What
being a
is the
brand,
way
right?
to have the conversation about money? People
Let's
are
do it,
very
let's do it.
sensitive about money.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay,
Let's do
cool,
it.
cool.
This is how we should be doing it.
By the way,
right?
Sianda says we should be paying for this, so we're about to drop the bars. And if you guys, I'll send you Tumelo's invoice after the segment.
100%. Thank you, Mr. Mlambo. Thank you, sir. All right. So in essence, this is how you should be having the conversation about
Okay.
money, right?
Okay.
So you pretend to be the client for a bit, and I'll be the marketer selling my services, right?
Okay.
Or you making a decision around that. So, hi, Mbali. Thank you so much. I've heard about your brand, and I think that we could really do a couple of different things. So an engagement with us, right, starts somewhere between 6,000 Rand and 13,000 Rand. And because we're not sure exactly what you'd need at this point in time, we'd have some sort of range. Is that in your current budget?
Okay. Our budget actually is 8,000, and I would like to know what I can get from you with that amount of money. Because I mean, we've seen your work,
All right,
we've
no.
tried some of your services. So with 8 grand, what can I get?
Okay, no, that's perfect, buddy. So, in essence, when we're looking at the range between 6 to 8,000, so with the 8,000 Rand, you'd be able to sort of get access to us and to some of the services that we're doing, right? But we definitely like to align it to your particular goals. So right now, what I want to find out a little more from you is, what are you looking to do from a revenue perspective in the next month?
With your help or without?
Regardless, so whether or not we do the deal, whether we don't do the deal, what are you guys looking to do from a revenue perspective?
Yes, you know what? If we can bump up our numbers at least by 5%, that would be great.
Okay, and what does that look like in material value? So what are you guys currently doing, and how much are you bumping by 5%? What's the number?
You know what? It's strictly just sending out marketing material to clients of all the products that we have and running certain specials so that people can get products in bulk. So we've sorted for the bulk buying.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. And I think that would be a useful way of adding sales. But what are you trying to do in terms of revenue? So we're sending out this information. What is that supposed to result in? Are we making 20,000 Rand more? Are we making 10,000 Rand more? What are you looking to do exactly?
Well, 5% for us is between 23 and 25,000 more.
Okay, between 23 and 25. Yeah. So between 23 and 25,000 Rand. So in essence, when you're looking at 23 and 25,000 Rand, is that on a month-on-month basis, or are you trying to just do this in just this month?
Just this month, our numbers have been quite stagnant. So that's why, so let me say the past 2 months, we've been making like 14, 15K a month. So we're trying to get to that number. That's why we're trying to get all our products in one so that people can have access to them at a reasonable cost for them.
Okay, no problem. So you were saying to me that you guys will be able to pay 8,000 Rand and you guys have been making 15,000 Rand a month.
Yes, because employees cost money.
All right, so you guys are making 15,000 Rand a month and you're willing to invest 8,000 Rand a month. Mbali, how's this relationship going to be sustainable? So let's say we sign up, I send you an invoice, right? And you're looking to make an invest. And by the way, just quickly out of scene, this is the red flag. Like you're looking at this, you're like, no, the numbers don't make sense. Right? You're like, the numbers don't make sense. It's like, you are going to do the work, you are going to put in the invoice, they are not going to pay you. So all of a sudden you're realizing, you know what I mean? So you honestly need to understand what the financial situation is like and be honest about it, right?
Wait,
and then, okay, fine, we'll go back into scene. Their financial situation, yes.
Okay.
Their financial situation. Okay. So we'll go back into scene and slowly kind of get the client to realize that this is sort of expensive and a kind of unrealistic expectation for this engagement, right? But then you come back into scene and say, okay, Mbali, so you're looking to do a 5% increase in sales, which would be about 23,000 Rand. You guys are currently doing about, 15K or so a month, right? Mm-hmm. Why would you go with this option, even though it's not the cheapest?
The 8 grand.
Yeah.
It's in the middle for me. It's middle ground. I'm not taking a chance, but I'm also not too taking high up a chance. So for me, it's middle ground. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So if I had to send you a proposal and an invoice for 8,000 Rand, can we start on this project?
Yeah, for sure. If you think you're the strategist, yeah.
100%. And then you end the call there. Right?
Okay.
You send the invoice, you send the proposal, and you ask for the deposit. If they pay the 4,000 Rand to come through, you start with the work. If they don't pay the 4,000 Rand, then you're just like, hey, bro, pay the deposit in the for the invoice, but never go beyond the sale. So once you've made the sale, you don't need to now. You see, I didn't talk about process. I didn't talk about anything that has to do with we are gonna this and that and that and that and that. I spoke to your particular goals, right? And then once I spoke to your particular goals, then it comes to the point. So some clients are more hardball than that. They'd like to understand kind of your process, whatever the case may be. But the process is irrelevant if I'm getting you the results, right? It's just about me getting you the results. And that's what a videographer, branding person, marketing person need to understand, right? That when you are talking to a client, what result are you going to get them and how is it going to affect their bank, right? 100%. So we'll just move into a couple other things, right, to consider.
All right.
So when you're pricing or when you're thinking about your pricing and your pricing structure, think of it as a matrix or an X and Y axis, right? And on the Y axis at the top, you would have high price, right? And then you'd have at the bottom low price. And then on the X axis, you have low price, or rather low complexity. And then on the right, you'd have high complexity. And in essence, what happens is the more difficult it is for you to convert a client, the more you should be charging.
Okay.
Right? So you're speaking about platforms like Fiverr, right? There's ones like BrandCrowd. I'll speak right now to sort of branding people and people that do identity and all these kind of different things. So when you're on those kind of platforms, let's say BrandCrowd, right? You've already put the risk up front. So you've created the logos and whatnot. Someone is just going online to buy a logo, right? So it's low friction. You don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to use your time. You don't have to sit there. It's very low friction. You're already taking the risk up front and the logos out there for the world to do. For musicians as well, there's something called artist.io, right? And artist.io basically allows for you to put your music on their samples or whatever the case may be. Yeah, put your music up there so that if people are trying to use it for their YouTube or whatever the case may be and they're at a paid subscription for that, it's low friction. You already made the music, it's out there. You don't have to talk to anyone.
And you make
Now
money
there's
every time somebody downloads your sample.
100%, 100%,
Nice.
right? And then a level above that is kind of the lower end of your payment structure. So did you see how I said between 6 and 13 and you were like 8, right?
Yes.
So because that 8 is sort of kind of transaction, it's towards a little bit lower to the spectrum of what I'm charging, right? I said, I'm going to send you a proposal, send you an invoice. You should be converting this in about 3 days, no longer than a week, because the money that's coming in isn't worth you having back and forth conversations. Now, that's kind of low price, a little bit more complexity. Now, high complexity, high price, meaning this is a long-standing client. You guys are going to be working together for the next 6 months type situation, right? Now you're charging 13K a month. That's like the top range of what it is that you're doing, right? This is a much longer conversion cycle. And because it's a much longer conversion cycle, you need to count in all those other different things, all the calls that you're making, all the amount of time you're investing, right? And that is it's a longer sales process. So that can take you about a week and a half, but nothing more than that. Otherwise, the client is just wasting your time. You need to work with people that are decisive, responsive, and want to work with you, right? Because your time, like you don't have enough time in a day to just be having conversations. So that's what I'd say. Think about it that way. That if you can take the risk up front and it's on a digital platform somewhere, an artist.io or a brand crowd, then put that risk up front and just know that the last time is just you know what I mean? Just do the right things.
Okay, so okay. Thank you for the bars. You know, you keep putting up. So you're saying everybody is in a position to negotiate what they can take and what they are willing to offer. It's just a matter of you finding the right language and common ground to say, I'm still walking away with this and you're still walking away with that. But otherwise, everything else is negotiable. If you can guarantee it. Yeah. If you can't guarantee it, don't waste someone's time. Know your story, know what you can do. Okay, that's a bit difficult, but it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. When you go to McDonald's, every single time you know what to expect. They guarantee you that the Big Mac is going to taste the same everywhere.
Okay.
Right? And hence, I think digital marketing.
It's difficult with services, you know, especially digital services, because how do you navigate that? You know, it's gonna be the same. Yes, I'll give you like a fire logo, but you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I'll tell you a story. About Dingakara. People that are phakathi inside the game, right? So digital marketing, I think, actually should be done by mathematicians because they understand algorithms, right?
Okay, that's a good point. So a marketer should never negotiate alone. As a marketer, you must have somebody else who understands numbers more than you, type thing. And I mean, like for any brand.
Or no, listen to what I'm saying.
Is it an accountant?
No, so listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying the actual job of a digital marketer, I believe, should be done by a mathematician or someone that has a mathematical mind.
That sucks because first of all, I'm bad with numbers.
Hear me out. And this is why, right? Because digital marketing is understanding algorithms, right? So I'll tell you a story. And for confidentiality reasons, I won't mention the name. But there's someone that was selling petrol online, and they generated for that business about 3.5 million rands.
Okay, but you can sell anything online.
Aye, who do you know that sells petrol online?
I'm telling you can sell anything online.
100%, but who do you know?
If you can sell online, you can sell anything. And that's my thing, right? You know?
Sure, you can. So his secret was, in essence, he understood the algorithms, right? And how to make sure that the conversion funnel works. And I think digital marketing needs to go back a little bit and understand sort of the underlying stuff that makes things tick and not just focus on the front end, because the front end is important, right? Making things look good is important, but understanding in essence how to use Google Trends to ensure that you are improving search engine optimization, right? How to make sure that you're creating long-standing campaigns that have landing pages and those landing pages allow for people to go through a seamless process of buying things. That isn't just a matter of making sure that they're really nice graphics and that the images are capturing. So if the images are capturing and there's really nice graphics, that's amazing, right? But you need to understand what process allows for people to sort of go through the entire, right? To go through this entire process up until the point where they say, here's my money.
Okay. I still don't agree with the mathematics.
That's fine.
But it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense because I think 9 times out of 10, the marketer would focus on the pretty, and I speak for me. I used to think, the core of what I do is to make things look good online. I can do that, yes. But then things get kind of tricky when you are behind the scenes. And I thought that would fall more towards your IT guys, your technicians and things like that. But it's all under marketing. And for that reason, I think I'm underpricing myself.
100%. You are underpricing yourself. You are underpricing yourself because do you understand now, when you think about it, it's like you have to spend so much time researching how the target audience is. Are they a digital native? Are they not a digital native? Are you selling to old people? Are you selling to young people? Right? What is kind of the thought process around it? Do they trust the medium? Do they not trust the medium? Right? Are they comfortable putting their card details online? Right? Or do you have to have sort of banking details? All of these sort of things are things you have to consider before you even start going into your graphics software and writing copy, right? Before you even start using a CRM or doing an email marketing campaign, you have to sit there and think, right? Do the research and to understand exactly what the output's going to be like. And if you are charging that, right, per hour, or if you're charging that in different sort of structures, right, then it doesn't incentivize you to sit there for long hours because you look at it, you're like, I'm getting paid 7K to think so much. Yeah. Right?
It doesn't make
sense.
It's
like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But if you can't guarantee things, right? If you can't guarantee things, then you can't charge a premium for it. But if I can come to you and say, listen, buddy, I can improve on your particular goal, right? Let's say your goal is 100,000 Rand. I can guarantee you 75,000 Rand off of that. And I'll be charging you about 20K for all of this, right? The maths make sense.
Okay. No, true. I'm with you. I'm with you. Hey, no. I'm still caught up on the mathematics, okay? Because I started math at school. So anytime I see numbers, and this is legit, I started thinking I need to have a friend who's an accountant, because I cannot be having these conversations with clients because I don't understand how to calculate the actual value that I give to them. So I was like, no, I need to partner with someone. And 9 times out of 10, that is the danger, There's certain things that you can do in your business and that, okay, I'm good at this. But it does help to have somebody, and I say friends because, we are communal at that, You don't necessarily have to pay these people, but you need to have someone who sits on your small business. I say small because you probably haven't scaled that much. And, okay, this is how I'm charging. I need to have somebody else with that mind to say, okay, no, Umbad is charging Ganje because of 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. Without them having to question me, because when I have that conversation with clients, I cannot justify those numbers. Because my focus is on the design. My focus is on the, you understand? So
yeah, I understand what you're saying. And it's a lot of creative people's problem around that. Like as a creative, you get very cringy when you start talking about numbers. So like if you get very cringy around numbers and you are a freelancer, and that's why personally I don't like using the word freelancer. You are a business owner. You are in business, chief.
True.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like you are in business. Yeah, you are in business, right? So because you are in business, I think you need to really get comfortable with the money conversation. You need to get comfortable with the numbers in your business, right? Because at the end of the day, it's your livelihood, right? And it's not an option. It's like understanding
Strengths and
the
weaknesses.
accounting.
Strengths and weaknesses.
It's
Strengths.
not an
I know my
option. It's
strengths.
not an option.
Okay.
It's not an option
Okay.
because
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
drink water every day. And
Yeah.
in a business, you need to make sure that you understand the numbers, because if you
Yeah.
don't, you really hamstring yourself as the
Mm-hmm.
person. Busi says something along the lines that as a business owner, you need to be dangerous enough, right? So the minute you start exporting things
Deadly.
that are very important to your business, like the accounting,
Yeah.
understanding the sales cycle, when you are scaling up, right, and salespeople give you excuses, salespeople are the best at giving excuses, right? The client didn't pick up, they didn't, as soon as now you are in business doing those kind of different things, right? You won't be able to say, I did this, and this works, right? And accounting people as well, they can dribble you your money, right? So you need to have an
Yeah,
understanding.
because they understand the numbers you don't.
Exactly. So you need to know profit and loss, you do like right?
Yeah,
And understand
yeah.
the mathematics, because I mean, you can never cheat a taxi driver their money.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
And
That's
they
true.
don't have
The
MBAs.
bad
They don't
drivers,
have,
but they're good with their money. See,
they don't.
balance to
They
me.
know their money. They know their money. So I think that if our wonderful gentlemen that are the bedrock of commune and moving in the country, our beloved taxi drivers, can understand how the mathematics around their business works, I think it's the onus is on us to understand that, right? You can't export that. You can't outsource that. You have to understand it, and you have to make sure that you are on point. And you have to be able to justify the numbers, because you know
Yeah.
what you can guarantee.
For sure.
I think Tata's asking a question here. How do we guarantee
Yes.
and estimate ROI on digital marketing, especially when you have a small budget? All right. So Tato, can I answer the question, buddy?
Yeah, sure. No, for sure. It's for you.
Okay, sweet. See, no problem. So Tato, on a small budget, right, you have to understand what the function and the purpose of the digital marketing is going to be, right? And understand. So if you have a small budget, my assumption would then be that the business might be location based. So it depends on the business as well. If it's an e-commerce store, right, then it makes it easier to track what each and every rand does, like from a click through on Facebook all the way to whatever on so you have. If it's, for example, location based, let's say hardware store of sorts, right? Then you have to understand what is that supposed to do. First and foremost, are your customers online, right? Because I think what tends to happen is we are very prescriptive with you need to use digital marketing, when it's not effective for what your business is doing. And actually, I'm not the guy that will tell you that print media is dead, right? Print media is not dead.
I'm the journalist to tell you that it's not the same.
Yes.
You know how many magazines were sold during COVID? How many were discontinued during COVID?
Yeah. No, of course, 100%, because of the medium and how people are now consuming the same content, right? But for example, if you are a location-based business doing, for example, hardware, and you are a hardware store, right? And your customers are guys that are making the garage ukasi, right? Helping Mampegi to put together the butler or whatever the case may be, and you sell metal, right? You're gonna do a sophisticated online digital marketing structure when that guy needs to know where the address is to get steel. And he's most likely not in a 5G area where he's able to get access to the internet. I think that the budget then needs to be said, how do we repurpose that? And that's where the thinking comes into being, to say, is this actually the route we should be taking?
Yeah. Are you the target market? Do you
100%.
know it? Do you know your target market? Do you know your potential clients? Pretty interesting. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap up here for today.
Oh man.
I know, it's been an hour, you know. And also, everybody's 5G is limited, you know. We can go on forever, but we cannot. Thank you so much, Dumela, for insights. I think people still have questions. It's definitely a conversation that we should be bringing in every once in a while because, you know, business is very fluid. and trends change half the time. I mean, as a strategist, is your focus there when you advise young businesses? Do you talk much about trends, about them looking at what's going on in the world?
Yeah, so I have a dope team. Dope,
Oh,
dope, 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 dope team, right? I mean, we have someone on board, right? And she's a psychologist. So she doesn't think about commerce the way that we do, right? She looks
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
innate being inside the human psyche,
Oh.
right? And she's able to kind of decipher what are some of the motivations that we have internally
Yeah.
and what drives us making a decision, right? I have someone who focuses very specifically on how do we communicate and make sure that the communication is on point, right? It's being understood very quickly and succinctly. And when you have the operation director than I do, then it makes sense for us to be able to make all these happen. So we focus on the trends and we look at, in essence, what's happening in the underlying factors in and around Africa and the world, and how does the world affect how Africans perceive themselves, and also how do they then make those decisions in line with what's happening around them, right? Because there's so much messaging that comes in on a daily basis that we are unconscious of, and we try and get to that other layer of the unconscious. I mean, yesterday we were having a conversation about brand identity and so forth and so on, and I'm the kind of guy that says black, white, and gray, and then we're sharp, right? But they were having an in-depth conversation about how colors affect moods, right? How colors affect the different sort of parts of the brain. And I was just like,
True. I always have this conversation with Selemuko. His thing is always like, use red. People associate red with power, and I'm like, no, but yellow is pretty. So he's always the psychologist in the
just like
there's many factors that add up to marketing, and it's really great to have somebody with bigger insights than we do, because you can only know so much, and us coming together like this and having the conversations makes things much easier, because then we're able to learn and ask questions and say, hey, how am I doing? Should I even be calling myself a brand? I know I'm only selling t-shirts, but you know what I'm saying? Because once you understand the value that you have to offer to clients, then you never have to worry about how much you are charging. Because you know exactly where it's going. So thank you so much for the insights. Thank you guys for being here. Let's catch up again next week. Think Ownership, the series, trying to get our communities, us, entrepreneurs, black people, small business people, whether Udaisa Iacha or Udaisa, listen, it doesn't matter what you're selling, because you gotta sell every day and you gotta make money. And once the money is on your table at the end of the day and you've got a plate of food, doesn't matter where that money came from. Let's just make sure that it's honest money. If you would like assistance with purchase order funding, please go to the People's Fund, .co.za, and then apply. We have 2 to 5 days turnaround time, so you will know within that time frame whether you qualify or not. And then that money franchise stockpile, we have only 24 spots left. So we're only looking for 24 more people. If you cannot, it's too bad, because after this we are closing and then we focus on the real work. We're still looking for a site. If you have suggestions, hit us up and walk away with 1,000 rand.
Make the money,
Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Passing shots, Dumelo?
Guys, take your businesses seriously. Simple. Take your businesses seriously and carry yourself the way that you want to be treated, right? And once you do that, then you are going to make sure that you're getting bang for your buck. So thank you very much, Bali, for having me, and all the best with filling the last 24 spots. And
Thank you.
Think Ownership.
Always.